When I work with guys taking them through the book, I always stop here and cite similar examples of my own past. Examples of when I stopped drinking and everything was going fine, then the I'm going to start drinking again idea floated into my mind and pushed the I do not drink idea out. When this happens, all the reasons I quit drinking failed to come into my mind to help my mind resist the I'm going to start drinking again idea. This deadly I am going to start drinking again idea is an obsession that comes and goes only to return again. I have come to know that without recovery, it will return again and take possession of my mind. The certain reality of this elusive but inevitable obsession in my mind is what makes me an alcoholic. Normal, non-alcoholic people do not have this obsession living either dormant somewhere in their mind or actively running their mind. In this sense, an alcoholic's mind is like a computer possessing a self-destructive virus that cannot possibly be removed. In the short term, the best one can do is contain the virus and make sure it does not get triggered. In the long term, we can reorganize the computer's operating system so that it makes the computer process in a way that assures the virus not get triggered. Call it recovery. The dictionary definition for the word obsession is 1. The state of being obsessed with someone or something. 2. An idea or thought that continually preoccupies or intrudes on a person's mind. So, the thought or idea that I can stop drinking any time I want to and stay stopped needs to be put to the test and challenged if I am to effectively diagnose myself as either alcoholic or non-alcoholic. The best way to test my ability to stop and stay stopped is to look back over my drinking career and constructively and honestly review how I fared in the past during those times I decided to stop drinking. Turn to the page in your workbook that has the My Attempts to Stop Drinking for Good exercise. Starting in the far left column, list 3 of the times you stopped drinking and then started drinking again. Write the approximate year on the far left, write why you stopped drinking in the center column, and where you were when you decided to take a drink in the far right column. Let me show you using 3 of my own examples. The first time I remember trying to stop drinking was approximately 1990. I decided to quit drinking for good because I got a DWI. Approximately 1 month later, after having been without a drink for 1 month, I was hanging around my apartment on a Friday night. I had just finished cleaning the apartment. I went to the refrigerator to get something to drink, and I noticed my roommate's 6-pack of beer sitting on the top shelf of the refrigerator. I reached in and pulled out one of the beers, and I remember standing there in the kitchen staring at it in my hand. I stood there looking at it long enough to recognize beads of sweat starting to run down the sides of the beer. Then the thought crossed my mind, I don't want to drink this beer, as I removed the top from the beer. My next thought was, this is what I do, as I lifted the beer and started drinking it. Notice I was standing in my kitchen when the thought, this is what I do, crossed my mind. At that very moment, I changed my mind and I decided to start drinking again. I remember clearly that I had no strong desire to start drinking that beer. It seems I drank it out of sheer habit. Shortly after the first beer, I had another and then another. At some point during that evening, the obsession to start drinking again gripped my mind, and I turned back into a drinking being again. Drinking most nights and every weekend, just as before. The second time I remember trying to stop drinking was approximately 1990 again. I decided to quit drinking again for good because of the same DWI. Once again, approximately 1 month later, I was in a restaurant bar with a friend of mine and a couple lady friends. I went to the bar to order 3 drinks for them, and after ordering the 3 drinks, the thought came to mind, why not have a drink with them? It's Friday night and we're out with our lady friends, so heck, why not? So I said to the bartender, make it 4. At some point during that evening, the obsession to start drinking again gripped my mind, and I turned back into a drinking being again, drinking most nights and every weekend, just as before. The third time I quit drinking for good and started drinking again was after I got out of jail for 30 days. I got a 30-day sentence for driving without a license after they pulled my license for that same DWI. While in jail, I decided, when I get out of here, I'm going to move to Anaheim, California and stop drinking. And this time, I'm going to go to AA meetings. So I moved to Anaheim, stopped drinking the first day there, attended meetings for 6 months, and while driving to a meeting to get my 6-month chip, the sight of a Budweiser neon sign posted in the window of a stripper bar caught my eye while driving to the meeting. Right after I noticed the neon sign, the thought came to mind that I should go to that bar after I get my 6-month chip and have a couple beers. The next thought was, yeah, you're not an alcoholic. If you were an alcoholic, you wouldn't have been able to stop drinking for 6 months. My next thought was, yes, after this meeting I'm going to that bar and I'm going to have a couple beers. My mind was made up. That time, the obsession gripped me completely before I even started drinking. I finished the drive to the meeting and attended the meeting with my mind made up that I was going to the bar after the meeting and I was going to have a couple beers. The thought of not going to that bar and drinking never came into my mind to challenge the I'm going to that bar to have a couple beers idea. My mind was completely made up while sitting in the car driving to the meeting. I became a drinking being again while sitting in the car driving to the meeting. The obsession to drink returned to consume my mind in full force. In some circumstances, we have gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. But even in this type of beginning, we are obliged to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient in the light of what always happened. We now see that when we began to drink deliberately instead of casually, there was little serious or effective thought during the period of premeditation of what the terrific consequences might be.